My name is Abby.
And my name is Liam, and you are listening to the Evolving Love Podcast.
In this podcast, we deep dive into the topics of non-monogamy and relationships, drawing from our experiences of being consensually non-monogamous for over a decade.
Whether you're monogamous, polyamorous, curious, or anything in between, we invite you to join us for this conversation.
Let's begin.
Welcome to episode 49, a very, very special edition of the Evolving Love Podcast.
Our live podcast at the National Film and Sound Archive, which we are so excited to share with you.
We are. It happened merely just a few days ago. And
Yes.
It was just the end of a crazy week.
It was a crazy week. I think I'm still riding the high from last week and the podcast. It's now Tuesday. The podcast was on Friday.
Yes.
And I think I'm starting to this afternoon. I'm starting to
Chill it out a little.
just chill it out a little bit because I have been buzzing.
Yeah. The adrenaline has been pumping through the veins.
Yeah, it's been full on.
Yeah, it's a very different experience doing a podcast in the back room of our house versus on stage with a live audience.
I couldn't believe it. It was just such a beautiful, surreal moment to walk out on stage and the room was so full and everyone was clapping and so positive. The vibes were just all love.
Oh, it was incredible. And to have that instant interaction as soon as we'd say something, or we could feel the room shifting, and that's something that we don't necessarily get to experience because we're in here just bouncing off each other.
Yeah, it's really funny because people often message or email me and just be like, oh, I listened to your episode and you guys were so funny. I was laughing out loud. And I'm always thinking, gosh, I wonder what part or what, what are people laughing at, or it's sort of hard to really engage with it. But then having the audience immediately, I feel like they were immediately laughing. You were on fire. You were so funny. And the audience, you were feeding off the audience. It was your energy was just getting bigger and bigger. And I was watching you and I was oh my gosh, I feel like we've unleashed something. This is so funny.
I think my inner performer, my music performer came out on stage, I think. And there was so much beautiful conversation. In addition to, lots of laughs being had, there were lots of just beautiful moments responding to guest questions. We had Molly Roden Winter, we had Thouin, we had Fair from Polycurious, we had Lawrence from Our Secret Spot, and we had lots of questions that were submitted from the audience as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, one particular highlight for me was a beautiful response you gave to Molly's question about motherhood. And at the end of it, everyone was so taken aback that they actually applauded your answer. And it was just a beautiful moment and a beautiful experience to see, you recognized in that way and just the way that you think about these things. And I think a lot of people were really, really touched by that particular answer, but also just by the spirit in the room of just vulnerably sharing.
Yeah, gosh, it was so special. It actually couldn't have gone any better. There's nothing that I would change with the night.
Well, luckily for all our listeners, you have a chance to listen to it now. And the premium subscribers, for the Evolving Love premium subscribers, you will have access to the full performance. I didn't know what to call it. I was
the full video?
The full video as well, the show. You get it all. You get everything.
Yes.
And for those of you who are not premium subscribers, you get to listen to the first 1 hour of Evolving Love Live. So lots of fun is had, and we'd love to hear what you think about it. But I think without further ado, here is Evolving Love Live.
My name is Abby.
And my name is Liam, and you are listening to the Evolving Love Podcast.
In this podcast, we deep dive into the topics of non-monogamy and relationships, drawing from our experiences of being consensually non-monogamous for over a decade.
Whether you're monogamous, polyamorous, curious, or anything in between, we invite you to join us for this conversation.
Let's begin.
Oh yeah, nailed it. Nailed it. Oh my goodness, here we are. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Oh man, what a day we have had.
It's been a wild day.
So in addition to setting up for a live podcast, we decided to also do some filming with the ABC who came down from Sydney, who are featuring us for a documentary. And so, which is lovely, but it meant that about 10 minutes ago was when we stopped.
Yes, it's been a very busy time, but we're excited to be here.
We're here.
Yes.
This is quite far removed from our bedroom. So.
It is. This is a very different experience. First ever live podcast. We've been hosting the conversation nights.
Yes. Yep.
But yeah, this is a whole other world. So thank you all so much for coming out, spending your Friday night here.
Yep.
It's very awesome. Thank you.
So we have lots of exciting things planned. But we thought we'd kick it off. Often we get asked when we've done media appearances and when we've done different things, a common comment is, that's cool, like you're non-monogamous, that's all great, but why don't you just like shut up and be non-monogamous in the corner? And why do you have to like have a social media thing? Why do you have to
talking about it?
Why do you have to have your writing? Why do you have to post beautiful photos of yourself?
You take a great shot.
There we go. So I thought I would compile a little montage of some different things that have appeared when I did a kind of a YouTube search of historic news videos, different times non-monogamy had been talked about in the past. So with the power of technology, here we go. We have a TV. Here we go. Okay. So this is a little montage of some rather...
differing opinions.
Some differing opinions. Here we go.
The modern family and one of the most unusual and provocative new family arrangements that's out there. Polyamory, it's called, in which multiple lovers live together openly under one roof.
Ethical non-monogamy, it's a term you may have heard before, especially if you're on any dating apps.
This morning we're talking about love and commitment without monogamy.
The libs are not just detailing the degenerate behavior of weirdos, they are actively trying to get you to try it too. But they know it's degenerate. No matter how many times they jam that word ethical in there, they know that this behavior is repulsive and disordered.
Studies have shown that about half of all marriages end in divorce. The reasons vary, but infidelity is usually somewhere at the top of the list.
So there is a movement that some say is picking up steam, and it certainly is shunning the traditional view of a monogamous relationship. It's called polyamory.
In the commercial break, I asked the audience, like, who would consider doing this? And every woman in the audience was like, if my husband came to me after years of being in a committed monogamous relationship and then marriage and said, I want to try an open marriage, I'd say what you're really looking for is a divorce or a permission slip to go cheat. Denied.
An accurate portrayal of polyamory would depict sad girls with daddy issues and brain-fried satyrs.
Are you good with the term ethical non-monogamy?
I'm not good with this. Why are we giving it this new term and this like trying to make it cute? Okay, you're in an open relationship, maybe you're a swinger, whatever. If it works for you guys, nobody's questioning it. But to say this is ethical non-monogamy, as if putting the prefix of it being ethical is now somehow you're saintly and you're not sinning. Nobody's saying or questioning what you're doing. If you're open and your partner agrees, go do it.
So the cover story on this week's New York Magazine gives readers a guide to polyamory, or being in an open relationship. They spoke with about 40 people currently engaging in so-called ethical non-monogamy.
Whoopi, come on.
Some of these folks have been married for years, and the people wanted to find out how they navigate being in a relationship with more than one person. More than one person. And then I'm supposed to ask you all, would you be open to this?
No.
How many are we talking about? Not y'all. I know y'all aren't going for it.
You don't know that.
I do know. No. This is not a polyamorous audience. No. Yeah, no, you know when you come out, you can find the polyamorous people.
Amazing.
I mean, what can be said about that? What was your favorite hot take in that one?
I expected more from Whoopi.
Right?
I mean, I'm sure.
What's up, Whoopi? I would have assumed she'd be totally pro non-monogamy.
I know.
She was throwing strong shade.
I know. Well, it's an interesting thing. It definitely stirs up things within people, but it really brings us back to sort of why we have decided to talk about it, because there are so many misconceptions. There's so much stigma around non-monogamy. It's so misunderstood. So we're just here bringing the conversation out there for a couple of years now. And yeah.
And here we are on the stage at the National Film and Sound Archive.
Exactly.
So we're going to set up a little bit about how this is going to work this evening. So we have put a call out for questions from people who are here tonight. And we've also asked some of our previous guests on the podcast to submit questions. So we have a few of our wonderful guests who've submitted some really interesting questions.
Yes, can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, so here we go. Here is our first question. This is Dr. Molly Thouin. For those of you who've listened to the 2 episodes she's done on the Evolving Love podcast, she's a compersion expert, and she is just incredible at all things compersion. So let's listen to her question.
Hello, this is Dr. Molly Roden with a question on compersion, of course. I'm curious, when do you struggle to experience compersion, and when is it easy for you? What are some circumstances and stories where it's been really difficult or really easy? Thank you.
Such a good question.
Thanks, Marie.
We love Marie.
We
but
do.
I thought that we might get into compersion a little bit just before we start answering it, because I'm not sure. I know there's probably a fair few non-monogamous people
We are
here.
preaching to the converted, I imagine. Mostly converted.
Definitely not preaching. But for those who
There we go. It's live, baby.
I'm cleaning.
So we can't
I'm
edit
cleaning
all
it
this
up.
stuff out.
I'm cleaning it up.
Okay, so we
Not
got
preachingly.
to break the fourth wall before we get into this
Yes.
answer, because so in the preparation for this live podcast, a lot of times when we hit record, when we hit roll, we're in a bedroom in our house that we've set up as a little podcast studio.
There's a lot of stopping and starting.
There's a lot of stopping and starting. And so if Abby throws me the side eye, oh, why did you say it like this? I can immediately go, bam, 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 edit it out. But here we are.
I know.
Everyone caught the side
very
eye.
exposed.
And I feel like you almost thought that you would get away with the side eye. And I had everyone on my team. That was amazing. Okay, we got a few team Abbies.
Okay.
We got to keep it diplomatic. But
Okay, back to compersion.
Back to
Let's just
compersion,
talk
baby.
about what compersion is, because there might be some people here who don't understand compersion.
Yes.
And it is a big part of navigating non-monogamy. I would say people have very different experiences of compersion and what it means to them. So the way that we might feel compersion isn't the way that somebody else might experience compersion. But it's, to just get straight into it, a lot of people do sort of think of it as like a feeling that is, sort of like the opposite of jealousy. It is like a feeling or an attitude of, happiness or joy, sometimes arousal, pleasure at the thought of your partner or the reality of your partner being, with their other partner, with somebody else. So what would usually stir up feelings of jealousy or envy or something like that. Instead of those feelings, or sometimes as well as those feelings, you might also have some compersion as well that comes along. So compersion is sort of like the feel-good stuff with the non-monogamy.
So when do you find it difficult, per Marie's question, when do you find it difficult to access your compersion?
I find it difficult to access my compersion when I'm feeling a little off in myself. So if I am if I'm a bit unwell, or if I'm a bit tired, or if I'm hormonal, like if I am feeling premenstrual, that's quite a difficult time for me to tune into my compersion. I feel like I'm monogamous when I'm premenstrual, so that makes like being in a 10 plus year non-monogamous relationship like a little tricky, but also kind of entertaining as well. Like it's a journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah,
It is.
It's a journey. Yeah. I will also say that I find it difficult to tune into my compersion when my own non-monogamous sort of, relationships or connections or experience is not going great. I feel like sometimes it's easier, like if your dating life or your own experience in that way is going really well, it can be easier to tap into compersion. I don't know. I think that's me.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel the bandwidth issue. For me, the compersion is difficult to access when there's just so much going on, when there's so many different things going on, whether it's work is really stressful or whether home life is really stressful. that is a time that is very difficult to kind of access some of those compersive feelings. And often when you're going and dating separately and you're going on your dates, it usually means that I am on dad life. I'm just doing dad duty, and there's lots of different things going on, and vice versa when it's the other way around. So that is something that we've discussed before. I think one thing that we learnt kind of pretty recently, potentially, was that, you know, it's if we have the ability for me to not have to do family duties, like for our son to have a sleepover, like at a grandparent's place, so I can kind of have the bandwidth to be compersive. And then, because sometimes I think some of the things that can come up are often like a sense of, and I know we've spoken about it on the podcast, but a sense of envy. It's like, oh, I'm in the weeds, I'm doing all this, or you might feel like I'm on a date and you're in the weeds, and, you know, just getting through life.
You were in New York for 3 weeks.
I was in New York for 3 weeks.
Last year.
And so I'm still trying to earn some brownie points to kind of get somewhat back on an even playing field. Am I back on a...
I've got brownie points forever.
Yeah, okay. That was I mean, that was a good one. You'll have to go to New York for 3 weeks. But I mean, something like that, you know, how was the compersion when I was in New York? How did that go?
Yeah, that was really interesting. I felt incredibly compersive early on, I think, when you were away. And then I think when it was like, you know, the last week or so, you know, I think just because I was tired and missing you, and also just had envy. I was like, I would love to be in New York, and you were, you know, catching up with friends of ours and also catching up with old flames as well. And
who we'll hear from later on.
Yep. And, you know, there were definitely moments where I was like, oh man, like that, you know, but I don't know if that was because there was like a strong sort of jealousy around the dating. It was more like, oh, that would be nice to be in New York right now as well.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah, and I did start to feel, I know it's a lame thing to whinge about, but I did start to feel guilty when I was over there, because I was like, I wish you were there. Because seeing all our friends that we hadn't seen in so long, and then we were all like, every time I caught up with someone, we would the first thing we'd do really was take selfies to send to you.
I know,
you know, so I could Photoshop you into the selfies and be like, look, it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be a whole thing. So yeah, I think compersion, it can ebb and flow, certainly for both of us.
Yeah, I sort of think of it as like not something that I am like, you know, always like feeling or anything like that, but it's definitely something that I can tap into. You know, more or less at different times.
Yeah. And you've spoken about, and we spoke about this with just before, you spoke beautifully about this with the ABC, was that you talked about the attitudinal compersion. Like it's like almost like it's not just this sexual based thing. No. It's like a mindset of, you know, can I be compersive for what my partner's going through, even if I am in the weeds, even if lots of things are going on, or if I don't have my own dates on the calendar, you can be like, oh, it's great that, you know, you'll get to go on a date and, you know, have these experiences.
And I think it can transfer to like other aspects of life as well. You know, it's like, can you be happy for somebody else when it's like, you know, when you're really struggling, and it's sort of like, then you sort of, you know, when you're finding things difficult, you know, you're tuning into that attitude as well.
Yeah.
So it is still sort of relevant for monogamous people too.
Absolutely.
In different ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our next question. And I'm going to skip to the next slide, which I should have skipped to before. This is live theatre, baby. Okay, this is the wonderful Lawrence.
So this is Lawrence. He's one of the owners of Our Secret Spot in Sydney, which I'm sure probably a few of you may have been to before. So for those who don't know, Our Secret Spot is a sex club.
That's the word for it.
Yeah, so he's the
People
owner
go
of
to engage. People go to engage in
an adult venue in Sydney.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's great. That's spot on. Spot on.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go. Take it away, Lawrence.
Hi, Liam and Abby. Hope you're both doing well. I have a couple of questions for you because one is never enough. We're non-monogamous after all. The first question is, how's your experience been coming to sex parties or clubs like Our Secret Spot as opposed to solo dating? And the second question is, have you been to any parties or clubs on your own, and how's that varied from when you've gone together? Thanks, guys. Bye.
Oh, it's juicy. We're at the juicy part. What's the time? It's almost 8 o'clock, so I think we can step it up a notch. No, we're not going to get too graphic.
So the first question was...
Oh, I love that. Maybe we can sneak it in.
So the first question was, he had 2 questions in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go backwards.
Let's go backwards. You go first.
Okay, so his question was, would we ever go to a sex club separately?
Or have we?
That was the first part of the question.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so well, maybe we should address the elephant in the room and divulge that, unsurprisingly, we have gone to a sex club.
Yes, we have been to one. Yes.
Yeah, just in case anyone was wondering. And so we did enjoy it.
Yes,
Yes.
we did.
Is that the right answer?
Yeah, you're just so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we could talk about.
I feel like we haven't been to any sort of big parties like that for a while.
No, not in Australia.
Not in Australia. Yeah.
Just smaller gatherings.
Yes.
But it's all relative.
It's
Some
all
people
relative.
would say that a gathering of 15 is large.
Yes.
Some would say, you need 1,000 people in the orgy pit. Would you say?
Oh my gosh.
What's
So
your
funny.
definition of a large sex party?
A large sex party? 60 people plus?
Ooh. What do we think? 60?
Like, that's what I think of a large. Like,
Okay, well, that's the second part of the evening. So just let's not jump ahead too much. That's the next slide. Yeah, I would say. I mean, okay. So the reason I bring that was the first party that we went to was in New York,
it was.
and it was called. Well, the first proper sex party that wasn't
Yeah.
just like a fun evening
It was
where
called-
people are a bit naked.
It was called Chemistry.
It was called Chemistry.
And it took 4 months to be accepted, something or other.
Just because they had such a
'Cause they
backlog,
had
nothing
so
to do
many
with
applications.
It was a very popular sex party in Brooklyn, and it was in kind of like this warehouse, grungy Williamsburg style vibe.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I remember arriving there so fucking scared.
We were so nervous. And then was it you or me? I announced
Oh, this is
our
amazing.
full names at the front with the lady with the big book that has everyone's photo so that you are who you say that you are or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And I announced our full names and she was like, it's just the first name, or whisper or something. And I was like, oh,
Have another name. Don't give us your real names.
I've already made a mistake. And
Yeah.
then we ended up we were nearly about to leave because I didn't realize that there was a secret door because everybody started to
Yeah.
leave.
Okay, so there
This
was
is a whole-
there was about 250.
This is a wild tangent.
No, this is sex club related.
Okay.
There's 250 people there,
There was-
maybe.
yeah.
And then we're so nervous. We're standing by the bar.
I'm shaking.
We're shaking. Suddenly, gradually, everyone starts to just leave. And we're thinking, fuck, we just didn't get picked. This is the moment where we
exactly
just
what I
sadly go home, and we both thought,
I was
fuck,
like-
I guess that's it.
I know, we thought that was it. And then I saw this door. There was a door and I saw
always a
someone
door.
going into the door and I was like, oh, okay, what happens there? So then we went up and then there was a lovely...
That's where the sex party was happening.
That's when that was that.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
was that.
So
what was the question?
That story was just to prove that we have been to sex parties. I think that the second part of the question is really interesting though. Is would we ever? Because we've never gone to a sex club separately to each other. We've always gone together. So we've always been able to be nervous. Always been able to kind of.
We've always been on the journey together with
We've
that
been on
side
the
of
journey
things.
together.
We have been discussing it a little bit recently.
Yeah, we've had a little,
Just a little
few
bit.
chitty chats.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, well, if we went separately, we'd be going solo or we'd be going with somebody else.
Yes.
Like in a
Oh, I
partnership
heard a few
with them.
groans. A few. Oh, this is the jealous moment.
Which is really interesting because for me, that does bring up some feelings of jealousy because I definitely have, like a social...
I would have to pick that day.
I feel very-
so perfectly in your cycle. It would have to be. All the stars would have to align, and our secret spot would have to open on a Tuesday. I'd have to message Lawrence and be like, "Mate, I've got 2 hours.
This is the moment.
Bring
The
everyone. in.
conversions here.
This is going to be the moment."
We'd have to have extreme levels. Yeah, it's an interesting one because it sort of brings up, and it makes me think too, when people say, oh, what sort of like non-monogamy are you? Or, are you polyamorous or are you open or what's happening? And I do feel like we're somewhere between open relationship and polyamorous, but it's always in the details like this, where I feel like maybe I'm just not quite sort of polyamorous enough, because I still feel a lot comes up to me at the thought of you presenting socially with somebody else as a couple, and then you as a couple meeting people for the first time as a couple.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? Like it sort of just makes me think about it. And it's not that I wouldn't ever be open to it, but it does not stir a compersion with me. Compersion
I
within
think we
me.
can say there's a no deal. Is that? We'll keep you all updated. No, I think. Well, it's
in discussion.
Well, one thing that we were asked before in our sit down interview was you know, when you're like in like 30 years time, like can you foresee yourself in the future? Like, can you foresee what you're going to be comfortable with? And we were kind of like, well, not really. It's always a discussion.
Can anybody?
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody really could.
And so I feel like, you know, obviously right now, I feel like probably the answer to that, and I find it probably hotter from my side of things. The thought of you going to a sex club with another partner is really hot. But I do think that I would get jealous. I think that it would trigger.
I think you would. For the same reasons that it would make me jealous.
For exactly the same
Because
reasons.
what if we met some really lovely people and they were then inviting us to dinner and they don't even know who you are?
And I feel like exactly what you said. But I remember, so Jessica Fern on her podcast that she did with us, she talked about justice jealousy. And I think that would really come into play there. And I think what would be hardest for you would be if I like met some people like you were saying, and then suddenly you're not known as my partner, the other person is my partner. I think that wouldn't be I don't think that would be a fun discussion.
It would definitely be a little triggering for me, for sure.
So I think we can park that one as we keep it in fantasy land.
Yeah, I'll fantasize about it.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, great.
There we go.
That's the compromise.
Yeah, that's it. That's
okay.
it.
Love it.
Okay, let's pump through, because as you can see, we are so used to being in podcast mode that we really it is amazing. We were discussing that we were trying to figure out how much we would address everyone in the room and how much we would just kind of talk shit at each other and just imagine no one was here and it was just in our bedroom. And we decided...
we don't podcast in our bedroom.
Yeah. Well, yeah. In a spare bedroom. Was that almost another side eye? I don't know. We'll count them. Okay. Audience questions. Moving along. Okay, so these are submitted by some of you. So thank you very much for people who've submitted the questions. The first question. Have you or how do you approach a monogamous person, either single or in a relationship, to enter in a non-monogamous situation? Juicy.
Okay, so that's a really interesting one because, well, I'm not really into dating monogamous people.
Yes.
But also dating a monogamous person who's already in a relationship.
Yeah, that sounds like it gets into dodgy territory there, I think.
Yeah, there's something a little amiss. Definitely not interested in dating monogamous people and not interested in dating monogamous people who are in monogamous relationships. Feels like a tricky situation.
Well, I feel like it's easier to say no to the people already in a relationship because that's obviously an ethical thing and a boundary that we wouldn't cross. But the monogamous, would you date a monogamous person, and how you would approach them is an interesting one. Because we have always talked, like people often talk about the fantasies of like, wouldn't it be so hot, to meet like a cool couple out, and then you just end up having this like out at a bar one time, and then you just end up having this crazy foursome in Spain or something, on holiday. And the reality of that, I'm just manifesting.
I love it.
The reality,
I love it.
The reality of that is so hard to actually achieve.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Very rare.
So the tricky thing about actually approaching a monogamous person is, first of all, how do you bring up that you're non-monogamous? Like, how would you say there was a cutie at the bar? Say let's do a little hypothetical. Okay. You are off on the road.
I'm on the road.
Off on the road to Sydney. You arrive in Sydney.
Okay, I'm in Sydney.
You're at this cute little bar down at the fucking wherever people go to bars. Down wherever people go to bars in Sydney, okay?
Okay.
Cute guy walks in.
Okay.
He's with no one.
Okay.
You don't know. He doesn't have a ring on. So we can assume that he's potentially monogamous or not married.
Okay.
Okay. Sits down next to you at the bar.
Okay.
And says,
hello.
Can I have a whiskey? He orders like some, impressive drink. Do we have any audience participation?
Don Draper.
What's the...
Orders a whiskey.
Whiskey, no rocks? What's... An old-fashioned. Okay, let's go with an old-fashioned. He sits down, he orders an old-fashioned, and he looks at you and does a little... So how would you bring up the fact? You've got a wedding ring on.
Yeah.
So how would you bring up this fact that, you dilly-dally in the non-monogamy?
I mean, it's so far, it's an interesting one because I've never picked up anybody in a bar before, I think. Maybe
crime.
ever. Like that. And I call it like in the wild.
In the wild.
That would be like meeting someone in the wild. I feel like it's very rare that
I should have done
would
a
happen.
David Attenborough overlay to that previous scenario. And here she is. I can't even do a David Attenborough. I'll work on that for next time.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, I don't know. It's just so out of my realm. I don't really like sit in bars and like chat with men. But for the sake of the story, I think, I guess you'd have to immediately start asking about their relationship and what's going on. Are they in a relationship? What's happening? Just like how normal people are when they're picking up.
Okay.
Like how a monogamous person would be, I guess.
And at what point do you divulge?
That I'm married.
Yeah. Because that's got to come up eventually.
It's
right?
going to have to come up eventually.
It will.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Very early on in the piece. Very, very early on in the piece.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I was actually...
Would you brute force
I
it
did
in?
meet
Or would you
someone
be
in the
like,
wild.
I guess, maybe I'll message my husband and say I'm having a lovely chat with a whiskey drinking guy in some anonymous bar in
Whose
Sydney.
fantasy is this, Liam?
I don't know. I don't know. I went tangential. Yeah. Okay, so you just bring in. I will say that we have had conversations in a friendship, not that we're trying to pick up anyone, but we've been at parties and I feel like we have a good radar for spotting non-monogamous people or people open to non-monogamy.
Yeah.
And so often it doesn't, to go back to the question, because maybe there should be some meat in the potato, in the I don't know what's going on. But I feel like you can actually bring up the fact that you're non-monogamous without bringing it up.
Yeah,
and you
of
can
course.
get a sense for someone and whether they be open. And I've seen you do it. You do it amazingly because often you'll bring up. You can see this is unscripted. Often you'll bring up something like a pop culture reference about isn't it crazy that like so and so is like non-monogamous?
I wouldn't say crazy.
Well, you wouldn't say crazy, but
I'd say fascinating.
Isn't it fascinating? And you have a little twinkle in your eye, and then if the twinkle gets returned, this is the moment, right? And
Yeah,
I've done the same
I
thing.
think
I'm not
that's
putting
it.
it all on you.
Yeah, I mean, you somehow just managed to drop the topic into the conversation.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the way. But Liam, would you date a monogamous person?
Ooh. The tables have turned. It was much easier when I was asking you. Would I? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. And the answer for that is, I think with our family structure and, we're parents, and I think that it would become potentially more complicated quicker in that environment with dating someone who could potentially have no frame of reference for non-monogamy within the context of being a parent, potentially.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like, if people haven't experienced being in non-monogamous relationships, they're coming from that monogamous place, which is, you date and then maybe you get engaged, you become boyfriend and girlfriend, you get engaged or, partners, you sort of start building a life together in that sense. And I feel like there is a little bit of unpacking that maybe needs to happen, to start exploring non-monogamous relationships because the relationships can look so different to that. And so dating people who already have some sort of frame of reference or experience or understanding is really helpful, I think. But I mean, it's also like people have to start, if you are going to be exploring non-monogamy, people have to start somewhere. It's an interesting one. I have dated a monogamous person before.
You have.
And it did not go great. It did not go great.
Next question. So, we have another. There we go. Okay, next question.
Should I read it?
Yeah, absolutely. Here you go.
As a couple who explores non-monogamy, both as a couple together and as individuals, solo relationships, how do you decide how to balance the two? Do you ever choose to do something on your own even when your partner could join you? If so, how do you two talk that through and express those preferences without the other feeling excluded? Such a good question.
This is a great question.
Yeah.
Because often, especially when I have dated separately, you've also had a really beautiful connection with the person that I've been dating.
Yeah.
And we have had group experiences, sometimes to start off those kind of relationships and those experiences, or group experiences like soon after we had started dating. And they've always been really fun.
Yeah.
And then it's a question of, is it something that you bring up every time there's a date on the calendar? Is like, is Abby coming? Are we gonna, it's one of those things where there's got to be that line of communication. And we have always spoken to your metamor or the person that I'm dating as the first point of reference, I think. Even before we have a conversation about that, is like, what are you interested? Are you interested in going on a date with both of us? Or do you want to just go on a date?
Not like a 2-for-1.
Together? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because we are our own separate people.
Yes.
We do date separately. It's actually been a very long time since we've dated the same person together.
Right. Yeah.
And if we would date the same person together, it would be, not a man, I guess, because you're straight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, would we feel left excluded? Yeah, I don't think so. I think now we're pretty comfortable with the separate dating thing.
But in your experience in the past, when I did go on dates and we had those group experiences, and then suddenly I'm going on a date, was there any part of you that was like, oh, I wish I was at the bar? Back to a bar.
Yeah, it sounds like we're hanging out in bars a lot. We're not really.
No, that happens only whenever we go on dates.
It's often like a walk.
Yes, it is a walk.
Or like a lunch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, because we've spoken about it. And because I know that it's important for you to have your own time and for you to date separately as well. And I love that for you. And also I like to have some distance from you as well. It's nice. I like that you are your own person. You're your own individual. You have your own sexual autonomy. We have that space. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And then for you to have that experience is important because sometimes it's like, we all sort of, we are the same person, but, when I don't mean with each other, I mean within ourselves.
We are the same person. This is a mirage.
No, but when we are dating, other people, it's like if I'm there, it's like, do you fully feel like you can just be whoever you're going to be in that moment with them? Because if I'm there, husband to Abby, Liam exists.
It does change the nature of dating,
yeah.
I think. And I will say that there is a freedom when you do go on a date. Like when I have gone on dates and you haven't been there is a freedom where I don't have to constantly be checking in my mind. Like, because when we're on a date together, of course I'm reading the room. I'm like, is Abby having a good time? Is my partner having a good time? But when I'm on a date solo, it allows me just to kind of almost just focus without those other things to kind of keep in consideration.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, so would you ever feel a sense of exclusion? If I was to come to you and say, look, with this new connection, even though you were both vibing, like say a potential partner and you have like a bit of a thing, how would you feel if I was like, I'd actually prefer for you not to have any connection with her? I would prefer for it just
like
to
at all?
Not a sexual one. Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. Of
Fine?
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course that's fine. But what do you mean like any connection at all? Like what, I can't even know her.
Yeah, you have to
not
mail
fine.
letters to her. That's the trick.
Yeah,
Carrier
well,
pigeons.
this is an interesting thing, and it does come back to compersion because I feel like, you know, and I think maybe we didn't fully get into what needs to happen to feel more compersion in Marie's answer. Maybe we missed that a little bit, but you know, I do feel like compersion comes about so much more for me. I can tap into it more easily. You know, when I do have a connection to whoever it is that you might be dating, like a friendship or a care or some form of sisterhood or something is like so important. So not having anything to do with the person, obviously I would feel incredibly left out. And if you were actively not wanting me to, that would be like a red flag for me.
That is a red flag.
But I couldn't imagine that happening.
No.
But it wouldn't be a vibe for me.
Yeah.
But everybody else is different.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yes.
We're talking about
caveat. Everyone is different. Everyone approaches non-monogamy in different ways. Any other caveats?
Exactly.
Each to their own. Relationship by design. Okay, let's move on from that wonderful question. Okay, so we're going to go into a little segment, and it's called Out of Touch. Now, I have made sure in the lead up to this, I designed all the slideshow, and obviously Abby and I have been writing all the way this evening is going to work. But recently, at the start of the week, one of my work colleagues sent me the Tinder dating dictionary. Has anyone ever seen the Tinder dating dictionary? No, it's quite the document, but it's specifically a Tinder data dictionary for Gen Zers, and we have spoken at length. I mean, I kind of feel permanently 23, but the grey hairs that are starting to show maybe an inkling that I'm not 23. But I thought it would be really fun to test Abby to see if she knew the Gen Z dating terms, right? God. So I have deliberately hidden all these sheets of paper and all these different things, and we're going to see if we can figure out what they mean. Now, if you do already know what they mean, don't shout them out. But I am very interested after the show to let us know if you did actually, in fact, know these and we are just living under a rock and we just have no idea what's going on. But when I will say that when I was initially told all of these terms and I went through them with my colleague and we were laughing about it, I knew a grand total of 0 of these terms. So I will say that up front. So if you can get any of them by deduction,
nervous.
the powers
I'm embarrassed
of deduction.
already.
No, it's
not going to
gonna
know.
be funny. So we're going to start off with an easy one. Okay?
I think I know. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I know this one?
So here we go. You ready?
Okay. Astrology babe.
Astrology babe.
Yeah.
So what is it? What is in dating terms?
What comes to mind?
What comes to mind?
Obviously, a babe who's into astrology.
Yes, I like it.
I don't know, long
like
hair,
style.
the northern rivers.
Yes, a bit crunchy.
A little bit crunchy.
Yeah.
A little bit speary babe.
A little bit speary babe.
Speary babe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that's. I mean, at what point in your dating experience do you ask someone their star sign? That's
okay.
the
Well,
question.
this is funny. So I said, I think I just mentioned to you recently, very recently.
Yes.
That I did have a partner.
Here we go.
Recently share with me his co-star. Does anybody know what co-star is?
Okay.
It's like
okay.
when you
We're
sync
cooking.
up your astrology things and then you can read like how compatible you are and what's happening for you both that day or something.
Okay. So
and
did you sync?
So
did
funny.
you sync the?
Yeah, I think.
Did you sync? Oh, that's even weirder. There's no one taking photos. It's fine. It's fine. We're good.
Yeah, I mean, he like added my co-star as a friend. Like they synced up because I have it with some friends. Like I have some girlfriends and we have co-star, and then sometimes we screenshot funny things because it says like, you two are in disagreement today or something.
There we go.
I don't know.
Okay.
So he sent that to me and that was pretty interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you feel like this is like a deepening of your relationship? Is this?
No.
It's a gotta be careful what you say on the mic. I'll cut this out anyway. This
I
is
just
for
thought
you
it was
guys.
funny.
This
I
is
just thought
for
it
you
was
guys.
funny. I thought it was funny, and
We're
then
in
I
the
thought
vault.
about how weird I would feel if a girl sent that to you.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that into astrology.
'Cause you're not
I'm a
into
Gemini, just for those who are wondering.
Obviously.
Shout outs? Is that a good thing? I don't know. I mean, it's a duality. That's all I know. There's like two sides.
Yeah, you are a true Gemini.
You are an Aries.
Yeah.
Shout out Aries. Any Aries in the house? Let's go. And what was he? What was
a Cancer?
Okay. So what's the deal with Cancer? Feel free to shout it out because I feel sensitive about this guy. He's awesome. He's awesome. My God. So what's Cancer?
Okay.
So many feelings.
Okay.
Have a feeling without someone else knowing about it.
Okay, Cancer.
Okay.
That's good. I like it. Okay.
Amazing.
Noted.
Okay, noted.
Noted.
Do you have a track record with Cancer men?
Yeah, you've got quite a few.
Yeah, we've got to have a chat. We got to have a chat about it.
Okay, well, maybe we'll reconvene after this and see if the cosine. We'll cosine on the co-star. Okay, so the official definition. Here we go. For people who passionately believe in zodiac signs.
Okay.
Lovely. Okay, so
I feel like that was an easy one.
That was it gets way harder.
Okay.
Okay. But progressively harder.
Okay.
Anyway, let's go. Here we go. So it's a blank screen. That's great. That's here we go. Kitten fishing.
Okay.
Okay, powers of deduction here.
Okay, kitten fishing. I feel like, is this maybe, I don't know, it sounds weird.
No, we can get weird. It's fine. We're deep into it, baby.
Kitten fishing. Is it for somebody who's like looking for people who identify as a kitten in their like BDSM life?
Oh, I like that. That's divergent, baby.
No, but this is Tinder, isn't it? It's Tinder, so it wouldn't
Tinder,
be that.
Gen Z. Well, think about.
But is this a Tinder game? So it wouldn't be that because that would be more like
furry territory.
That's more in the
furry
FetLife
space.
situations.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So
what is
let's
it?
by the powers of. I'm not going to tell you right now. I'm going to make you guess. I'm going to make you work for it, babe. So what we've got fishing. What is that?
Like
what's
fishing,
another,
like looking for.
What's another animal?
Oh, what?
What's another? What's another
fish? What do you mean?
What's another animal similar to a kitten?
Okay, cat.
Catfishing.
Oh,
okay, so if we know that there is such a thing as catfishing, could we by the powers of deduction figure out what a kitten fish could possibly be? Okay, here we go. We ready? You phone it in? Boom. Okay, so I'm going to read this one. So, changing aspects of yourself to appear more attractive to others. Unlike catfishing, this refers to things such as falsely depicting your actual physical appearance rather than making up an entirely new identity.
Oh,
so it's kind of like
softer.
Catfishing.
You're still
light.
being who you are. You're not pretending to be a whole new person.
Yeah, so it's like it's a soft. There's a softness to the deception. Did we say that?
I don't know.
Would you say that have we ever been kitten? Because we have been. Has anyone listened to the catfish episode that we did?
Yeah, that was wild.
That was a wild one.
Yeah.
We encourage people to. We won't rehash that because that is a journey.
Yeah.
But we did manage to think that we're getting catfished, and then plot twist. We didn't end up getting catfished, but the kitten fish is a nice little twist on that.
Yeah, it is.
A nice little twist in the parlance. Okay, next up we have haunting.
Oh God.
What do you think haunting could be?
Stalking, ghosting,
Oh yeah.
like
okay.
some sort of stalking, ghosting situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
But they just maybe they chat with you for a bit and then they vanish and then they come back and chat with you a little bit.
Oh.
And then they.
Oh, she's good.
Like
she's
bread,
good.
like breadcrumbing.
Oh, I like that. Breadcrumbing. Okay,
what does it say?
Let's see, what have we got? So continuing to interact with an old flame on social media in the form of comments or likes in order to be remembered long after a relationship has ended.
Okay, I've got a bone to pick with this one.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Because I feel like, isn't that one of the lovely things about non-monogamy? Is like you can still be in touch and like each other's
is
photos
almost like
and
kind of welcomed.
You know, like because sometimes it's just been a transition, like a relationship transition, like you dated or something.
Right.
And then, life moves on, but you still like each other's photos or send a little fire symbol or something. That's nice.
Do you
That's
feel
just
that
nice.
when you were haunted, by say it's a past lover, do you think that and you haven't had a thing going for a while, and suddenly they're liking your Instagram posts? Do you feel that is like?
I love it when they come back around like
there
that.
There we go. That's what I was going for. Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, I love when someone who I haven't talked to in a while, who's maybe, we've had a connection and then they've gone into, maybe they've stepped away from non-monogamy because they've gotten into a monogamous relationship, and suddenly there's like a little response to a story, and it's like...
You're like, oh, hello, you.
It's like, okay, we're talking again. Let's go.
But do you ever feel then like you're like an in-between person as a non-monogamous
I'm cool with
man?
that.
Yeah, you don't care. You're just
Let's
happy.
be honest.
You're just grateful.
Well, I think an interesting thing with non-monogamy is that if you realize that you can't be prescriptive about all of the other connections that are happening around you. Like,
for sure.
If one was to be a control freak about other people's connections, obviously on a serious note, that kind of spells a bit of disaster.
Yeah.
And so I'm just thankful for
You're just grateful.
I'm happy.
You'll take that fire emoji.
I'll take the fire emoji
and just
to the
say,
bank, baby.
come,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that's it.
And then you'll send me a screenshot and say,
"Look,
she's
look,
back.
Look, quick, off to a bar. Okay, let's move on. So that was haunting. Next up, we have.
How many of these are we going to do?
Oh, there's a few, but they're great. we got 3 more. Eco dumping.
What? Eco dumping.
I love the whispers in the audience. As everyone, see, the whispers are actually making me feel way better. Because if it was dead silence and everyone was watching us, if everyone was watching us to think, these guys are idiots, how have they not heard of eco dumping?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, eco dumping.
It involves.
Is that like just talking about the environment?
Don't tell Abby she didn't see it.
I didn't see it, but everyone else did.
That's fine. It's fine. But let's keep going. It's live theatre, baby.
I'm the only one who doesn't
We're live
know.
and raw. It's fast and loose. Let's go.
Eco dumping. I don't know. Like they talk a lot about the environment.
Oh yeah, like emotional.
Like how there's like emotional dumping.
Yeah.
But they're like, I don't know. This is really.
That's actually great. Like at what point? Because obviously it's important. We are firm believers in a healthy and strong environment.
Yeah.
We love nature.
Recycle. We love
recycle.
nature.
We do our bit for the environment. But at what point would this version of eco dumping be too much in a
Just a lot of talk on a first date?
Like how much environment talk? Like do we need to be going through like papers, scientific research?
I guess it
carbon
depends.
footprints.
It depends. I mean, if that was their work and they were like working in that area and they're just sharing about their work and their passions.
What if
It's a beautiful thing to be passionate about. So it feels a bit mean being like eco dumping. Okay, just tell me what it is. I know it's not that.
No. But what happens if someone?
Stop embarrassing me. I thought we were talking about non-monogamy.
What if someone walked up to a date and then goes, did you bicycle here? And that's that's the opening line. And you go, actually, I drove.
Yeah.
And they go, I don't know about this. I don't know if we can keep. That would be a red flag.
Okay. We might not be compatible.
This is what eco dumping is. Which is you're pretty babe. You're
It
killing
involves ending a date because of someone's lack of commitment to the environmental cause. Oh, okay.
So it's actually the reverse.
Oh, okay, it's the reverse.
So it's like as soon as you go, I drove here, they go, actually, I'm out.
Fair enough. Who wants to date someone who doesn't recycle?
Well, okay. I think there's levels. Levels to the eco.
Who wants to date someone who doesn't, care about the environment?
That could be.
We're not compatible.
That could be
definitely couldn't meet my dad. They definitely couldn't meet my dad.
Can't meet the parents. They can't
get.
They can't.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. This is a great term. Data view.
You've got a nice view of them. I'm thinking a rear view mirror.
Oh, I like
data
that.
Data view. I don't know.
I like the rear view mirror
I just can't
thing.
think of anything because I'm really just going off the word data view. Like a review of the date, giving it a review.
Who doesn't know what this already is and would like to shout out and answer? Any guesses if they don't already know what it is?
Is it like when you're going on a date date and people just continually hammer you with questions and it's an interview as opposed to a date?
Nailed it. Nailed it. Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
that was the moment.
Oh, fuck. That's me. That's me on a date.
No, you're not the date. You're not
that's
the
what
interviewer.
I'm like. I'm like the interviewer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, obviously.
I've never been.
Asking
I mean,
all these
our first date was
questions.
so long ago, I can't remember. So you
Yeah.
ask a bunch of questions?
Well, isn't dating about getting to know somebody?
Okay, well, I feel
What?
like... what
What are you going to do if you can't ask some questions, or else you're going to be referred to as a date interview?
I think it's more the sense that it becomes an interview like it's a one-sided. I think you actually are great. I will defend you. Not that I've been on a date with you for about 12 years. Our first date, I didn't even think was a date.
You didn't think it was a date.
I thought we caught up at Edgar's Inn for all the Canberra folk.
2012.
And I remember I rocked up and I was like, there's no way this absolute legend of a babe is going to be into me. So I sit down at Edgar's and what do? The coolest thing, we talked about this cool guy rocking up to a bar and ordering the coolest drink.
You were not that guy.
So that was not me. What do I order but a hot chocolate? It was like 6 o'clock. It was 6
it was
o'clock.
like 8 p.m. on a Friday
8 p.m.,
night.
even worse.
I was like, okay. And then I was like, I guess I'll have a peppermint tea. And then we had this tea hot chocolate date.
And I was so nervous that I smashed the hot chocolate so fast that I had to order another hot chocolate.
Yeah, you ordered another one. And I was like, wow, you must really
fucking-
aren't you getting full? Like having so much milk.
This guy needs sugar.
You're having so much milk.
Oh my God. I'm going to order that tonight at the after party. I'm
figured
just
it
going to make sure I get a hot chocolate.
Well,
just
I
for good
fixed
time's
you up
sake.
now. Now you know how to, go on dates with other women.
Yeah, I don't order a hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that is a date of you. I think that's a great term. I think that is one that can be widely circulated and used.
Yeah.
Because it does describe like a certain like awkwardness on a date.
Yeah.
And I've certainly been on dates where it's just like you felt like you either haven't stopped talking or it's been so awkward that you just have to like keep asking questions and maybe be the interviewer.
Yeah.
So yeah, date of you. Thanks, Tinder. Here we go. Last one. Cuffing season.
Cuffing season.
I know. I saved the juiciest for last.
We hope that you're enjoying this live podcast. If you would like to listen to the rest of this episode and to also access the video of this episode, please become a premium subscriber.
You can sign up at evolvingloveproject.substack.com and you can find the link to that in the show notes.